Okay, so we're live now. We're going to start today with a couple examples with Jquery Ui. We're going to do the ones that were included to the book, which are tabs and accordion. And then in the lifetime, I'll let you maybe experiment with some other ones. So I went over Jquery Ui and I showed you the website where a lot of the information is contained. For our examples, we need to pick up this little toys1.jpg. So I have uploaded it to the week 9. Please download to your desktop.
Which one is it? Is it going to be
Do you have week 9? Did I share it? Okay. There is a JPEG, only one JPEG in there called toys1. Download this file. It's not really very important, but we'll just, it's part of the example, so we're going to add a little image. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah? Jennifer?
Yeah.
The other Jennifer? Okay. Here we go. So I maximize the screen a little bit. So we're doing setup for our project right now. So you need toys1.jpg just for your convenience, and you also want to grab the CSS file as usual, so we don't have to code it. It's a long CSS file. So the CSS file is going to be listed under this link here, and you can open it and copy the code or however you want to do it. That's probably the easiest. It's called the co9.css. And you need to grab this file as well, or you can just save it directly. But you need those two files as part of the example. This is just the setup. So one image and then co9.css.
And you said this is chapter 9 in our book under APIs. You can read about the Jquery Ui.
Yes, so the examples are from chapter 9. I think that it really makes sense to use the UI, the Jquery Ui website itself, because it's just very helpful. So I'm not going to go through the lecture. We'll just use the examples, but we'll look at the Jquery Ui. But that's where the examples are from chapter 9. Okay. So we need a file. This is going to be the accordion. So you can save your file as JQ accordion.html. So let's revisit the website to see what was the accordion. And first of all, what was Jquery Ui? Do you remember? So Jquery Ui is the Jquery user interface library, which is built on top of Jquery. So we have JavaScript, Jquery, and then there is a Jquery Ui. And by the way, there is also Jquery Mobile, which is very popular library if you want to do mobile. In other words, if you want to do not mobile applications, but websites that are going to open, in a phone, and they're just for mobile setup. As you might know, you can go responsive, or you can create special websites that are specifically for mobile environments. And so Jquery Mobile Library, it's another library that is very helpful, and you can look into it if you're interested in learning how to do mobile applications. For now, get back to Jquery user interface. So we mentioned that they're divided into interactions, widgets, and effects. And the one that we're going to look right now is the accordion. So this is the accordion. And I showed you here that the code is very helpful. Essentially, it tells you what you need to know. And the main thing you need to know is what HTML element setup you need to have in order to call the Jquery Ui. So that's what you need to look at here and see. what they want you to use, and it turns out they want you to use a div. So with this knowledge, we're going to create our own example. So we'll do a HTML file, and there is only a line or two of jQuery in it, so we'll keep everything in the same page. Why is something is off here? Hang on.
It looks like you have HTML is what you saved it as. Right here.
What is that?
Here it looks like you have 2 L's when you save the HTML. HTML.
Here?
Oh no, like what you saved it as.
Oh, okay. Well, that will do it.
I can't tell that. I might.
No, you're right.
Okay.
So let me do a quick fix here. You can do HTML, but you can't do HTML. So. Okay, that looks better. Thank you, Tiana. So HTML. The title of this exercise will be Jquery Accordion. Jquery Ui Accordion, I should say. And we need to include the CSS file that is going to control the page, so the custom CSS. So link so include the CSS file. And then let's set up the page. So I'll add the body tag. It's going to have a header. The maker bus. H2 prizes. And then we're going to add a div for this image. And this is just to set up the example. It's not really relevant in any other way. We could actually skip it, but let's add it. Okay, so we have a div with a class of third image. And it's going to have an image tag with a source of the toys. I generally never leave space here. Hopefully this will work. So do you know why this percent is showing here? When I saved it, somehow I left, there is a space. That's how HTML renders spaces. And generally I avoid doing that. So if the image doesn't show up, I'll just go back and change it. But I think it will be okay. Okay, so this is our image. And we'll give it an alt of circuit board or circuit. Just testing it real quick. And so that's that. And next we need to add several divs, because as we learned by looking at the example on jQuery Ui, the Accordion widget requires you to use divs. So we're going to add a div with a class equal to 2/3. And it's a good practice when you have several nested divs to add a comment and say end div 2/3. This way it's easier to keep track. Then we're going to have a div with the ID of prizes. And inside this div, the prizes is the div we're going to use with the accordion. So in here, we're going to have H3, first prize. And div with a paragraph, first prize. Winner, and I'm not going to, we won't write the code, we won't write the entire example code here. So this is the, how about we say first prize winner announcement. Then we're going, so this is the structure for the accordion. Then we're going to have another H3 after you close the prizes, this div right here. And this one is going to be second prize. And again, followed by a div. Second prize is a, okay, let me do this. So the second prize is the Arduino robot. So we'll just add a little bit of text here. First prize winner. It's a drone. I would say it's a drone helicopter or quadcopter. Okay. The second prize is the Arduino robot. You can buy these on Amazon, by the way. And the third prize. So, sorry. So let's go ahead and put the announcements in paragraphs. So nest the paragraph inside the div. Now the third prize. Collection of books. Okay, so this is our HTML setup. Let me just run it real quick. And that's what we expect to see. So why did we use this particular structure for the HTML? Well, because if I go to the Jquery Ui site and I look at the accordion, it tells me that it wants to have a div, and then each accordion is going to have an H3 heading followed by the div which will contain the text. And we're essentially replicating this structure in our example here. Okay, so now our HTML is ready, and now we need to add the Jquery. The Jquery and the Jquery Ui. And we're going to use CDNs as we have done all along. So I'll go back to Google CDN, Google Hosted Libraries. And the first thing I need to get is jQuery. Now, if you forget to import jQuery, as you discover, your library is not going to run. So start with jQuery, and I'm getting the jQuery snippet here. And the jQuery, I forgot to close something, just a second here. Oh, I forgot to close my comment, okay? So as we know, we put our scripts, well, we have a couple options, but we put them right before the closing body tag. And now we have jQuery included, and we need to include also jQuery UI. So it's going to be, and this is the jQuery Mobile library, in case you want to use it. So here is jQuery UI. And as you might recall, the jQuery UI requires both a CSS and a jQuery import. So I'm going to start with the jQuery UI. So the script, it's enclosed in a script tag. And you have to put it after jQuery. If you put it before, it will not work. So I have included my scripts, and I need to also include the CSS. And the CSS is a CSS linked, except it's not local. Again, it's hosted. So I'm copying here the link tag. Hopefully, okay. So here, make sure to copy the right one. I was talking, and hopefully I got the right one for jQuery UI. And then we need to post this CSS up in the head of the document, and we just need to paste it here. And now we have the jQuery UI CSS, as well as the JavaScript and the jQuery script. So these are the three files we need to import. Yes?
And you said smoothness is one of the themes.
Yeah, so I'll show you in a moment. It turns out I had forgotten for sure yesterday, but you can change them here and it still works. Okay. So we'll do that next. Yeah, this is the default, and you can change it here to get a different theme, which is as easy as it gets. But for now, let's get our accordion to work, and then we are going to play with the themes. Okay, so we have done all this, and of course we have to do something else, which is to actually call the method that is going to create the accordion widget. We haven't done this yet. And this is going to be in this, again, in the body. It's going to be a jQuery, so it's in a script tag. And you can see here, of course, that you can mix importing JavaScript and then putting it in line, and it works fine, or I should say embedded. So the couple lines of code we need to create the accordion are going to be $, function. So this is our anonymous function. So we create our anonymous function, and inside the function, which means, as we just reviewed, by calling this anonymous function, we're ensuring that the DOM is loaded so we can proceed. And then all we have to do is say $, select our element by the ID. So we want the prices, and then call the .accordion method on it. And sure enough, here is our accordion. Yeah, here it is. One thing that I'm seeing here is that the class with the div 2/3 actually should be it should not be displayed in the full width of the element. It's constrained to like 600 pixels. So for some reason it's not picking this up. But let's look at that in a moment. So first of all, I want to make sure everyone's accordion is working. Okay. So if it's not working, again, what I was referring to is that we just need to look and see where in the CSS the div that is the 2/3 div should be constrained to 600 pixels, and it's not. So we'll look at that next. But first, let's make sure everyone's accordion is working. And to do this, you need to run the jQuery, the web console and see what errors we get, if any.
Could you review where you get the jQuery, what all things you need from other sources?
Right. So you get everything you need from the Google hosted libraries CDN. So search for that. Let's take.
Go back to normal. Like we did here.
Accordion is not a function. Yeah, as usual. You spell it. It's accordion. I think it is. It's not. Did you spell it? It's not A. It's on. You have a. Another folk musician.
It's always a spelling error with me.
Yeah, me too, especially if you talk. Okay, so it looks like you have it. So you have to click on the next one and it should work.
Oh, cool. That's easy. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's super easy. Anyone else? Have any issues? Any work? So the first one is jQuery. If you want to write yourself a note, go ahead, but you need to get the jQuery, JavaScript, the Jquery Ui JavaScript, and the Jquery Ui CSS file. These are the two things that we need. So we need to go Jquery Ui, copy the JavaScript. If you're finished, for example, maybe you can drop.
Oh.
Yeah, right. So you need to get over here. So you go back to the website and get put it after. You have to put it after. Not the method. So Jquery Ui has to go after Jquery. And finally, you need to get the CSS. Okay, if anybody figured out what was the issue with the CSS, let me know. I think I've already spelled something. Control Shift I.
We'll go back and just watch later. So kind of get you to say, just go back and watch later.
So did anyone figure out why the CSS is off? If you've done it, you can just go see if you can look into it. There is a class. I'm sure it's some kind of typo. Yours is working? Okay.
My header is now.
Right. So I think, so this is the class that is controlled by the CSS to make it 640 and it's not applying it. Maybe, it's not, as far as I can tell, there is no typo there, so I'll not worry about it. Yours is working. I think I have some typos usually in my.
I use CSS in my.
Sorry?
I think you might have.
Okay. What do you get? Okay, Maureen or Jill, what is yours?
Okay,
What is your class name?
my class name is 2/3.
With a dash or without?
With. Oh yeah.
So it's fine.
Oh yeah. I was looking at your photo. Oh yeah. And then close it down below.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly
Maybe my. There you go. Thank you. I need to do something like that. This way.
still not so good.
All right. Okay, so now that we have put this accordion on the page, the next thing I would like you to do is, you see how there is, well, just a second. Is everyone caught up with accordion now? Do you see? Okay, I'll look at it later. Yeah, don't worry, that's not important right now. Okay, so you see that when you import the CSS, it tells you themes, and then the smoothness theme is what we have here. So it turns out that you can change the theme with one of the themes from Theme Roller and get it to work with a different theme. So for example, Blitzer. So just I'll pick Blitzer because it's red. And sure enough, that's all I had to do. So now it has a different theme. And if you have other widgets on the page and you have the theme, it's going to unify all of them with the same look. Okay? Yes, Nico? Yeah. So the way to go about changing the theme is you have the CSS, and as you can see here, as part of the folder structure, there is themes, and then it has, the default appears to be smoothness. And I just changed it to Blitzer. I have noticed that you have to use, I think it's on the Jquery Ui page, it's capital case, but it seems like it doesn't work. So you have to make it lowercase. But you just put a name here. And if you have a theme with 2 words, you should have to put it probably in quotes so that it's a single word. Let me move this H1. It's annoying here. What is this? Where is this coming from? No wonder.
So that's the thing.
Oh, this was the.
So if there's a space in the name, how do you handle that?
I think you have to use quotation marks. So let's try one of these. I have some other issue with HTML on the page, but I'll look at it in a moment, or the CSS rather. So this was the blitzer, and let's see something bright and the frog. Then that might not work for that. Let's see if it will work. So these are folders in the Google CDN, and I don't know how they're represented there. I don't know if this is documented anywhere, by the way.
Where are you getting this sheet from?
This was the one that we imported from
From what you have on.
from Google CDN. Okay, so if this doesn't work with the themes that have 2 words, you actually may need to go to the regular process, which is to download it, and I'll show you that too. I guess it's probably worthwhile to just see if we can figure this out from the Google hosted site, see if they will allow us to do this. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong one. All right, so I'm not able to see I was hoping to see the folder structure in themes. It's not allowing me. Then the way I'm showing you with just changing the name in the CDN link is going to work for a single word, but otherwise the proper way of doing it is to download the theme and then include it, and we can do that. We will do this as well. So I guess pick something with single word for this example. Do you have any questions or comments? Is it working for you guys?
As long as it's a one word.
Yeah, it has to be 1 word. So give it to let's work on it for a few more minutes, and then we'll do another example. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Use a dash.
What's a dash?
Yes, a dash.
There you go. Drew discovered it, even though she just came back from being out for a while. So Le Frog should work with a dash. Yeah, I knew it was something like that. It's just a matter of how they have in quotations, right? Or no? No.
Yes, dash.
So,
Yeah, everyone knows spaces in the URL.
right, we knew that. There you go. So if you put a dash between,
like that.
that's how it's been done. So here is the code. All right, good job. I should give you some extra credit for that. We can catch up. So let's go ahead and try creating the tabs, which are also very popular. And then for your homework, you pick any of these widgets here that you see and integrate them in your site. For the next one we're going to do is going to be the tabs. And I think we can just, what I would suggest is maybe we're going to reuse the HTML, so save as jQuery tabs as a new file. So we go to the widgets and look at the tabs to see what is expected of us. So we're going for this look here. And it looks like what we need to do is we have to have a div. So we'll be calling the method on the div. And inside a div, what do we have? We have a ULs with list items. So easy enough. And let's go ahead and try modifying our file. We're doing tabs next. Yes, let's do the tabs. Okay, so we have our our jQuery and CSS for jQuery Ui in place already, so we don't have to worry about it. What we need to change is the structure of the HTML. So starting from, we're just going to use the div ID of prices again, except I'm going to delete everything inside because we now need to have ULs instead of H3 and divs. Okay, so we have a UL. With a link. And this is first prize. We have 3 tabs. Sorry. The UL is going to be on the outside, and inside, as we just saw, it's going to be list items. So list items, first tab, second tab, and third. Yeah, you actually want to have the pound sign. That just means that this link is just going to reload itself. That was intentional. And actually, yeah, that's what it means here, but it also means it's a ID. It's going to be an ID that we have defined later. But here it just means that we're loading the same page. Okay, so that's the third price. And close UL. And now we're going to add divs for our tabs. So the first one is going to be div with an ID of tab-1. And again, inside a div, there's a paragraph. So again, first prize is a drone quadcopter. Second price is the Arduino robot. Collection of books. This is looking very funny because we still have the accordion here, so it's trying to apply the accordion on, that's why it looks like that. I commented it out. And now we just should have the bare bones HTML and the div. So that's where we should be here.
Can you go back to where you just deleted out?
Yeah. So
Down below or at the bottom?
what I did is I actually commented out the line where the prices div was called with the accordion. Because in this example, what we wanted to do was to call the tabs method. So it's going to be everything the same, except we want to call the tabs method on the prices div. So this is the line you want to change. And sure enough, here are our tabs, and we can add some more text, so we can maybe just expand the tabs, but this is the idea, and that's all you have to do is just call the tabs. So let me add a couple, I'll just add a couple more tabs just to show it going here. So as you can see, the size of the tab is dynamically based on how much content you have. And that's how you create tabs. And it's the same way when you work on your homework or whenever you want to use Jquery Ui, you just need to figure out what is the HTML structure. You do that, and then you apply the methods. Yes, Maureen?
I have a quick question that I forget.
Okay.
Is it possible to get into the CSS? I mean, I know they've given us lots of nice choices, but if you wanted to make it match something else you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly do that because it's a CSS file. So if you wanted to change the CSS, you need to download it. You can't do this with a hosted library.
Okay,
And maybe after the break, we can download
Okay.
it and look at it.
that'd be great just to see how to do that.
Sure, we can do that.
So for the order and the placements of these style sheets and
Yes.
jQueries.
Yeah,
At the top in the header, you have the style sheet.
right.
And then down at the bottom of your body, you have the script that goes to the jQuery library, and you have a script that goes to that UI library.
The jQuery UI library, that's correct. So you need to remember those three things that you need to import. Yeah. If you remember that, that should be a long way to getting it to work.
Oh, and then how do we call the tab?
So we call it on line 49. We call it by saying we're selecting the prices div. So we're selecting an element with a div of prices right here, and we are applying to it the tabs method, which comes from where?
The
From jQuery UI,
UI.
right? And that's all there is to it. And you also know how to change the themes, but we can play with the themes a little more It looks like it's after 12. So take a quick break. We'll download the theme and look at it. And then I was hoping we can also do one plugin example. So 5 minutes, please.
I'm gonna get going started.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so. I mean,
Okay.
I never thought.
You never did?
Different instructions.
Okay. All right, probably.
But I told you, were you here? Did you come in late?
Today?
Yeah.
No.
So you heard what he's expecting, and
Yeah.
I think you're in good shape. We covered everything.
All right, well, thank you.
Mine's not working.
So this costume is not one red, but you can take right here. We should
Well, it was called Microsoft.
Class.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the ID of the and you have to add that before the divide inside divide each
I can't use this. Which is nice.
Or just switch out images. Well, I did. So.
You need that. Okay, sorry.
This one is pretty much that. Pretty much that page. It's pretty much the same. I just yeah, I use this for design. There's like the 3D profiles where you can see that. Yeah, here I added. Just added some of this stuff. It's the exact same thing. Yeah, it's the same. Just Yeah, and this is like now that you have the app, you can take all of his out. Like I don't mind that. They quickly got I don't know where else I can put information anywhere else.
I don't want to.
I didn't know that.
JavaScript now.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that CSS animation, or I wouldn't know or
That's what, yeah,
you
get
know,
out.
what I was going to do was I was going to like mess with some SVG stuff.
All right, I think it's time to resume our studies. So there's one other thing I wanted to show you here before we download the theme roller. I wanted to show you the effects. Remember that we used animation and we learned that it doesn't animate anything except the numerical values, such as maybe the width of the div. So there is an effect here. If you want to change the color, you can use the Jquery Ui animation effect, and you can animate color, and that's something you may want to do in your homework. Okay, I wanted to point it out to you. Well, we learned the .animate from Jquery. It only can animate numeric values, so it can remember how we used it to magnify our font size, I guess. But you can't animate colors because they're not numeric values, and so you can use the color animation from Jquery Ui and do some animation like that if you like. So just wanted to point this out to you, and again, I encourage you to play with all of them and see what is interesting. You can of course have menus here. The one caution I wanted to give you is, if you're doing a menu and I've asked you to do a plugin, it might get really tricky if you're doing a collapsible menu with a jQuery plugin and then trying to integrate this menu. So I would not attempt to mix those two on the same page. If you want to do it, go ahead, but I think it might get, it might be a long process. It's doable, but I don't know if you want to spend your time doing that. But there is a menu here as well. Okay, so let's look at the themes again. Okay, first of all, everything is customizable, so you can create your own themes, and I will not go through this here, but you could if you wanted to. And from the existing themes, if you wanted to use, let's say, which one should we play with? How about eggplant? And again, you can edit and customize further, but for now, we'll just go ahead and download it. So that's, instead of using the CDN, you can just download it and then you use it, and then you have to upload it to your server. Let's see. So download, and it's selecting a stable version for us, which is what we want generally. Okay. So go back to themes. And I selected eggplant, which is just because. And now we are in the download builder screen.
Oh, I see.
Generally, you want to go with a stable version of any library, so stable, unless you're, well, sometimes you may want to get a beta to play with it, but if it's a product you're releasing, probably go with a stable. So this is already selected. And here is the other neat part of this. You can download the entire library, which is going to give you everything. And that means there is more work for you, then you have to do cleanup, right? So you have to maybe remove a lot of the components that you don't want. Or you can unselect all and just grab the ones that you want. If you grab the ones that you want, you must grab the core components. So these are required, otherwise the other components will not work. So you always select the component, and then let's say you only wanted the widgets, you would only select the widgets. Or maybe you only wanted the accordion, and you only select the accordion. And then the theme here, it's already pre-selected for us. So I'm going to select all just to show you what it looks like when we select all of them. But you have an option to unselect. And then you say download. Okay, so it's a zip file. Let's see.
Are you putting it in the CSS folder?
Well, right now I was just unzipping it. Eventually you have to get it to your CSS folder. So CSS custom. And here we have, what I was going to do is I was going to show you their HTML page that comes with it as an example. And looking at the structure here, these are some images that are used as part of the theme. And it has the CSS, the Jquery, the Jquery Ui, and various themes. So if you wanted to make an edit, you would be editing the Jquery-UI theme.css. Let me do this. I'm going to open the sample file in brackets so we can look at it.
What did you open?
Just 1 second. All right. So I went in the folder that I just unzipped, and there is only one HTML file there. There's the example HTML file. So I open it. It's called index.html. And let's just open it to look at it. And when we run this file, you can see that it gives you examples of all the different, because we selected all the different widgets and all the different, dialogues and so forth. We actually going to play with some of these in Web 130 as well, and date picker and so forth. So these are all, you can just reuse the code, and their theme is because we selected eggplant. And there are even error messages. So any of these that you might need to use on your site, you can grab them from here. And let's see, what else should I show you? We can look at the CSS file. So if you wanted to customize, which can get tricky, you can customize. Where did it unzip to here? There is a file called Jquery Ui theme.css. Oh, I opened the minimized version, I think. So. Oh no, never mind. Okay, so this is the CSS, and it's a CSS file. It just takes a lot of work to, to understand and to work through it. But if you wanted to customize, that would be the place. And of course, if you had only selected one widget, well, this file would still be actually pretty large, but the HTML file would be much smaller. Okay. So that's what I wanted to show you for Jquery Ui. Do you have any questions or comments? Okay. Then let's take a look at Jquery plugins. Has anyone used the Jquery plugin yet? Do you guys know what they are? What do we mean by that? Okay.
I don't even know what a plugin is, really.
All right, well, let me step back one step further and talk about it. So a plugin is a generic term used for when you create some kind of library or some kind of, well, smaller than a library, some component that can be essentially, plugged into another program and then used as such without you having to redo the code. That's a plugin. So there are plugins for, pretty much in any kind of software situation, there are plugins. It's common that maybe a company would come up with a certain product, and then like what you all love using WordPress. And so there are all these different plugins that you can include, and it just builds on top of the basic bare bones environment. And so it's the same with Jquery. We have already learned that we have the Jquery library, we have JavaScript. And then on top of JavaScript, we have we have Jquery. That's a library. And arguably, you can say that the library is like a giant plugin. And then on top of Jquery library, we have learned that we have the Jquery Ui library. The Jquery Mobile library. And then some folks have decided that they can extend this even further. And so there is a bunch of plugins that individual programmers or groups of programmers write on top of these libraries. And they may or may not use Jquery Ui, so I don't know where to put it. It could be, there may be some plugins here that come out of Jquery library, and they depend on Jquery library, or some plugins that sit on top of Jquery Ui. And by the way, I think you all have used Jquery plugins because you all do, Lightbox in your HTML class. So that's a plugin. Lightbox is a plugin, and we did a menu. We did a collapsible, I think they're called hamburger or pancake. So we did that in our class, if you might recall. So everybody actually has done one, even though it looks like it wasn't a very memorable experience for you. All right. So that's what a plugin is, and how do you go about using a plugin and finding one that works? So in assignment 9, I added a note about it. Some of the popular plugins include image galleries, social media plugins, all these collapsible menus. And then you have to follow the specific instructions for each plugin, which is why I'm not really having a lecture. We'll just do an example because each one is written by a different developer. So there are a couple of different ways you can go about finding plugins. One of them is to go to the Jquery registry. They're not adding new plugins here, however, because they moved them to a different environment, but there are plenty existing, as you can see here. So let's say if you wanted an image gallery, if that's what you want, you can search, and then you get various different plugins available that you can use. Things to look out for. It's really good if you know that a plugin is popular, or if it has a lot of watchers or a lot of forks on GitHub, because that means that that works. If you come across some obscure plugin, you really have very little guarantee, and sometimes you might need to start working with it and realize, oh, this is no longer maintained, so I just have to move on. So that's a little bit of a problem. But overall, it's I think a big win to be able to use plugins. Okay, or you can just search for, let's say you wanted to do a plugin on, well, the example I have here is a social media plugin, so Jquery social media plugins. And then you have to do some research. There are many different ones listed here. And also there are various blogs that show reviews of plugins, so you can certainly do some research as well here. But the one I picked was this is the one I picked for our example. So it's called Cool Social Buttons Jquery plugin, and this is what it does. When you click on it, it's going to allow you to share on Twitter, Facebook, or Google+. And it also has customization if you wanted to add on Tumblr or Pinterest. So let's go through the steps now and add one of these to one of the websites that we have been working with. Okay. So the first thing is that you need to find a plugin. So we'll start with this one. I happen to know this one works, but again, there is a chance that if there is no clear documentation, you just need to be careful and, remember, there are many other plugins, so don't stick with one that doesn't seem to be clearly documented. Okay, and so how do we go about integrating it? Well, we have to look at the information here. So that's your process for the plugin you pick. So here it tells us that this is the demo and this is a download. But before I download it, let's read what else it says. So this is an easy to use, powered by CSS3, mobile friendly and fully customizable. How it works: the plugin has support for these networks. And so what this allows you to do is that you can post, if somebody's on your page and you have this plugin, then they can share your page on social media. And maybe, you know, they can add some kind of comment. Check out this great website. So that's what it does and how to use. So these are the directions. So now we have to follow the directions in order to be able to actually, you know, integrate this code. So let's go ahead and start step by step following the directions. Open up one of the, well, first of all, we have to download it. Sorry. So we go to download, and it's a zip file. And so you're going to say, you know, download coolshare.zip. Okay, so unzip the file. Trying to bring up magnifying. This one doesn't work. I forgot. Well, once you unzip it, you should have the index.html, which is an example. So let's take a look here. And the local example is exactly the same as I showed you, as they show on the line. So I'm running this locally. That's their example. And if I say Facebook, I have to log in. If the user is not logged in, they have to log in. But then it allows you to share the site. In this case, they're sharing this site. We're going to customize it to share a different one. So that's what it does. And also there are assets folder. And here it contains JS folder, image folder, which is just not relevant to the plugin, just for this example, a CSS folder, and the Coolshare plugin. And these are all in the assets folder. So did everyone download it? You have it? Okay. All right, so then we follow the directions, and they tell us that what we need to do next is to use this plugin, download the zip file, extract the files, and copy the folder assets, Coolshare, to your project. So what we need to do now is we unzipped it, and we need to move this folder to our folder. So assets, this is the zipped version, copy.
Is it just the Coolshare folder or all of the files?
So you have to follow exactly like it says there, and what they said is copy the assets folder. Otherwise, you would have to adjust your file structure. And then paste this folder in your project folder. So I'm putting it in the same folder as we're going to modify the JQ tab, so one of these two files. So I'm putting it in that same folder here. Okay. So put the assets folder in the same folder where you were developing your jQuery tabs and jQuery Accordion. Next. Okay, so you need to include the style sheet and the JavaScript file of the plugin along with the font awesome in your page. So it tells us here, put this in the head section of your page. And it turns out that, just as a side note, this particular plugin is using the Bootstrap font awesome. So in any case, these are just links to CDNs. So we need to grab these and then put them in the head section of your page.
We're using our Jquery tabs.
Yeah, let's use the Jquery tabs. So paste those files. So note, if they ask us to copy the Bootstrap font awesome and also to copy or to include rather the plugin CSS, which is stored in the assets folder that we just copied. And then they ask us to copy the script for the plugin near the closing body tag. So I'll copy this here. And paste. Next, the plugin depends on jQuery, so be sure to include the library before the plugin.js. And that's what we have done. jQuery is before the plugin, so we're good here. And then next, it tells us that you need to call the plugin from an element, which will be converted to a set of social plugins. We can use a span element. I'm going to use a div though. So let's go back to, actually we can copy the class social share. So I'll just copy it so I don't make a typo as usual. So we need to have an element and we need to give it a class of social share because that's how we're going to be calling it from the jQuery. And then go back to your file. And after our code with the different tabs, we're going to add a div with class of social share. And this will be social. We can give it the inner HTML of social. So now next, the class name, by the way, is arbitrary. I have added it only to make it more clear. In other words, you can name it. What does that mean? What it means is that you can name your class something else as long as you're calling it on that class. That's what it means. And now finally, they're telling us that to initialize the plugin, this is the code that we need. So they're telling us that the URL parameter is optional. It's also telling us that the way that the plugin is implemented right now, Facebook and Google do not support optional parameters. So the only thing you'll be able to do is just post, whereas with Twitter, you can also add some other information. And it also tells us that you can add two additional plugins, two additional services for Pinterest and Tumblr. We'll not do this right now. And also know that it's a mobile version. It works in mobile as well as desktop. Okay, so what we need to do now is grab the code for initializing the plugin. And we're going to put it after the plugin itself. So it's going to be the last bit on the page, and of course it has to go in script tags. And by the way, we won't have time to cover this in class, but if you want to make your own plugins, the book discusses how to do that. So you can also, of course, you can follow the process to make your own plugins and share, right? It's a very shareable situation. Okay, so now we have in the script tag essentially the code that we are told we need in order to run the plugin. So at this point, I think it's a good idea to see where we are. Okay. So other than I need to fix some formatting issues, it's already showing up here. So there is a social and it's showing up. And then I thought I just logged in, but surprise, surprise. And then you can share on Facebook. So right now it's sharing their stuff. So we have a couple of changes to make. Okay, so the URL, I'll put my URL here. It keeps on logging me out. Weird. And as you can see now, you can add. So now if I do this, this is such a great site. It's amazing, right? And then you can share this with your followers on Facebook or Twitter. And I do actually have a Twitter, so as you can see here, you can do the same on Twitter. So that's a plugin. That's what it does.
So in terms of if you want to physically move it on the page, could you just move it in the HTML?
Yeah, so that would be, moving it on the page would be a matter of where the div is. And the proper way of doing this would be to give it some margins and put it wherever you want it. For now, we can maybe just add a couple breaks to separate it. But that would be handled with your custom CSS, right? It's not moving for some reason. Yeah. Oh, let's see. If I do this. Oh, I know what the problem is. I think it needs to be out of the. I think. Well, that should definitely give it some space here. Maybe I need to put it in a different section. It works fine. I have another example where it works fine, so it's something that needs to be changed up, but it's kind of annoying that it's doing that. So let's see here.
It's working on mine.
Is it working on yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this should work, right? There is no reason it doesn't work. It's just the div and then the body. Well,
Now, looking at this code, it seems if we were to put interest true instead of false, it back.
right, so you can add the additional social media plugins as well. That's correct.
Only Tumblr interest though.
There so far.
The other ones haven't been
Right.
set up.
Right. I actually added, it's not, well, it is a snippet of code, but I added a little feed on my site, on my actual website, where it shows my latest Twitter feed. So I thought that was kind of cool. So that's what I have on here for you. Well, that's how you add a plugin. And again, you just have to follow the instructions of each plugin carefully. Any questions or comments? No?
So down at the bottom where it says Facebook and Google Plus, you would just delete that, you didn't put Google Plus in there?
Right, so what I have to see if you have to delete it or you have to say false. I'm not sure what is the, probably delete it would be sufficient. You may need to say false then. Let's see. Essentially, it just depends how their API was implemented. I'm just guessing here if false works.
Yeah.
So false works, okay. So then that's how you'd change it. And did you try adding Pinterest, Alex?
I did.
You just add
Yeah.
Pinterest, true. Okay. So.
I was just scanning all their code.
And many plugins have, you know, a lot of custom methods you can use. No, I broke it. Are you sure?
Oh, the semicolon.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no.
It doesn't really look all that great if you try to type in more than just share. Like I did share this page and
Let's see.
exactly.
I don't know what's mine. Well, okay. I mean,
That would be in the CSS right next time.
I don't remember my. Anyway, I do have a Pinterest as well, but. Are you saying when you're sharing it, or?
Or the type above the little button that pops up in the green. You know where we have it say share on div?
Right.
I typed in share this page. Yeah, right there. I got it on one.
That should not be a problem.
Well, I could show it up, but it just.
Well, I mean, that's a CSS issue, so you can customize it from here and, you know,
Yeah.
make changes to that.
Would that be a CSS issue from the assets or from the CSS that we created for the page?
So there may be a dependency, but this looks like it should be an issue of your own CSS
Right.
because it's just your own HTML element that you added there.
Okay.
Okay, we have only 5 minutes left, so I'll let you just maybe play around with any of these widgets or maybe look at some plugins and see what you might want to use for your assignment.
or something.